Hey everybody, Dan here with Pain Free You. If you're wondering why I'm shooting at home, it's because the lake house had a hot water heater that went out and the internet was a little bit sketchy, so I couldn't do my group coaching from up there without getting kicked off. So came home for a couple of days and I'll be going up to the lake a little bit later after I shoot this video. But just really wanted to talk about this. Bad data equals bad outcome, right? And that goes for everything. So I'm gonna relax for a second out here. It's a nice day, it's finally warm. Had some cold weather at the lake, in the 40s at night. And in a little cottage that's not insulated, that got rough. So I'm glad it's warming up. So bad data equals bad outcome. And of course I'm talking about the context of chronic pain, chronic symptoms, mind-body conditions. And a lot of times people are operating on a lot of misinformation, fear, things that they learned in the bad neighborhoods of Facebook groups, Reddit, online threads and communities, articles, doctors, friends, family, things you hear. And all of that information that talks about how frail and easily broken we are really kind of gets lodged and remembered. And when we're dealing with chronic symptoms, it's normal to go on a search to figure out what's going on and can I find people who have gotten better. And in many cases that leads us to what I call these bad neighborhoods, these quote-unquote support groups, and there's just people talking about their symptoms and how bad they are and how they're in on it for however many years and not getting better. And inevitably you end up finding yourself in places that don't know anything about the brain's capacity to create symptoms as warnings. And all of that information is what I call misinformation that creates fear and doubt and worry and hopelessness that I'm not going to get out of this mess and that this is my lot in life. And I do believe that misinformation is the first thing we want to tackle, right? One of the reasons I wrote the book is to take everything I've learned, and I've been paying attention to this stuff for about 24, 25 years, since my early 30s. About 25, going on 26 years. I think I was about 33 when I first started with symptoms. So found out about Sarno a year into my 13-year journey. Now you're probably going, hey, Dan, how come it took you 12 more years to get better? Because I made every mistake possible, and I was going through it before the internet was really a big thing, and there was not nearly the wealth of information out there. So I was kind of doing a trial and error, figure it out as you go, get frustrated, quit trying, come back to it. So it was a long 12 years because of that. So misinformation is something that you can resolve with some knowledge acquisition, right? You can learn from the vast wealth of mind-body practitioners out there, whether they be doctors, therapists, coaches. There's a lot of information out there. YouTube has a wealth of information, not just my channel, but lots of people. And so what we want to really do is right up front, or if you've got a lot of, misinformation, let's redo the knowledge acquisition. Let's understand how this system functions and how the perception of danger is really what drives symptoms. Sometimes the perception is accurate. You broke an ankle. Okay, that's accurate. The pain makes sense. You broke an ankle. But in some cases, the perception of danger is no longer accurate. The ankle's healed, but 6 months later it still hurts. The perception of danger persists even though the body healed. So there's infinite numbers of examples. But make sure you've got the knowledge acquisition and make sure you understand how the human system works, how the brain, the pain system, the nervous system, the body, how it functions. I talk about a lot of this stuff in my videos. You can go to dansfaststart.com, and that video series on YouTube will give you lots of this knowledge acquisition that you need. Not just what's going on, but how to determine if it applies to you, and also what to do about it. Now, little bit of self-promotion here. I put everything I've learned in 25 years into my book. It's called Pain Free You. Teach your brain to end your pain. And the knowledge acquisition is really in the first roughly half of the book. The assessment is there, chapter 6. So the first 5 chapters is really about how this system works. So bad data, let's get rid of the bad data and replace it with accurate knowledge. And again, Dan didn't create this stuff, but Dan researched it and lived it and studied it for 25 years. So what I've done is accumulated and synergized all the knowledge I've gained and put it into one place, and I do my best to explain it in simple, easy to understand ways. And I also try to put the solutions into easily implementable concepts. So the knowledge acquisition is where we get rid of the bad data. And with better data, we can then take some strategies that are proven to work to get a better outcome. So bad data, bad outcome. Good data, good outcome. Still takes some work, still takes some time and effort and consistency to teach the brain that you're actually okay. But with bad data, misinformation as I call it, it's really, really tough to turn off symptoms if the misinformation says you're broken and you're going to have symptoms forever. So bad data, let's correct that. And if you still got some bad data floating around from things you read or were told, let's correct it. Let's lay a solid foundation of proper data, accurate information, assessment saying this is what applies to you, and then a decision and a commitment that says, I can do this, just watch me. So, pretty simple concept. Let's make sure the data your brain is operating on points you in the right direction, as opposed to, back to those bad neighborhoods and things you've heard or been told, or the nocebos that you've heard. So, going to wrap this one up here, folks. Love you. And as always, we'll see you tomorrow. Take care.